The Daily Fantasy Basketball Podcast DFS show. That's daily fantasy sports for anybody who's new and just getting hip to the terminology. I'm Kyle McEwen. You can find me on Twitter at RotoKyleNBA. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can go to our site, dailyfantasybasketballpodcast.com, and donate there. Otherwise, please just rate and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, any of the apps that you may use to listen to the podcast. It's super helpful as far as getting us high on the ratings, which is really important at this time of the year because it's helping us lock down some advertising and such like that. All right, guys, this is our DFS show, so that means we're just going to be talking daily game stuff. We're looking at Thursday's 3-game slate, and we're going to be talking about everything with FanDuel prices today, because we are running a FanDuel contest over there. If you go to the website, or if you go and you check my Twitter feed, I've tweeted out a link to our FanDuel little Listener League podcast contest we're doing, and it's just 20 people available to get into the contest, and it's a $5 buy-in. So go there and use all of these value picks that I'm going to suggest, so that we have the exact same lineup. And it comes down to that one little pick that we make different that determines whether or not who's going to win tonight. All right, let's get in, look right at it. I should probably say give props to everybody who participated in the DraftKings contest last night. We went 30 people deep in that one because DraftKings allows you to go a little bit deeper. Mike Apatria won it all with a 327-point outing. That's a hell of an outing. Now, one of the good things to do is, if you're new to daily fantasy sports, if you're still trying to learn how to play the game, and you want to, imitation is the best form of flattery. So go see what the people who are doing really well, the guys who win the contest you're in every night, and see what kind of lineups they constructed. So if we go and we look at Mike's winning lineup from last night from DraftKings, he had Ricky Rubio, who had a huge game, 28 points, 14 assists, gets extra points for a double-double. You had Eric Gordon, Danilo Gallinari, who had a great game, Terrence Jones, who played well, Karl Anthony Towns, who did pretty well for his NBA regular season debut, CJ McCollum, who everybody knows went off for 37 points with 6 3-pointers made last night. Kenneth Faried had a pretty nice game, 18 points, 9 rebounds. And then Paul George, of course, didn't really shoot well, but put up a great across-the-board line and 17 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists. So there's some pretty big names there in that lineup, but mingled with some of the younger guys who were just ready to break out. And then Terrence Jones is a guy who has high potential on a given night, but he kind of fluctuates. So you're kind of flipping the coin there on whether or not you're going to get good Terrence Jones or bad Terrence Jones. It all worked out for Mike on Wednesday night, and he ended up pulling out that big win. So congrats to Mike over there. Breadman walking at second place, Uncle at third, and Mahler at fourth. I pulled in at fifth for the final payout spot. So, big thanks to everybody else, though, who got into the contest and was playing with us. A lot of fun to sit and watch that on DraftKings last night. But, all right, that's enough of that rubbish. Let's talk about FanDuel. It's really tough today. There's only a 3-game slate, so you're not going to find value picks at every single position, or at least not ones that you trust. So if we're going through and I'm looking at point guard, with just 3 games on the slate, Raymond Felton is probably going to get some big minutes tonight. He played well in last night's game on Wednesday as the starting shooting guard next to Darren Williams. And if we go and we look at the situation in Dallas for Thursday night, Chandler Parsons is still going to be out until Sunday. Darren Williams suffered a left knee bruise in Wednesday night's game, and he's questionable for Thursday night's game. And Darren Williams was already supposed to be on a minutes limitation due to the calf soreness that he had during the preseason. So now you got Darren Williams, the starting point guard, on a minutes limitation, and he's questionable for the game with another injury. So it really makes you feel like Raymond Felton's in a great spot to have another good game, just like he did last night playing as the starting shooting guard. So we saw Felton put up 18 points in 33 minutes, and the 33 minutes is really the big thing there. He also had 4 rebounds, 6 assists. It's daily fantasy. It's not the same as year-long. So daily, if you're getting a lot of counting stats, that's where all the points add up. You know, every single stat has a point value. So it's really just good to get someone who's going to go out there and put out those gross statistics, somebody who I talked about yesterday, Julius Randle went out and had a great game last night in his second regular season game of his career. 15 points, 11 rebounds, and then a few assists on the side too. Didn't do anything defensively with steals or blocks. Didn't get you any three-pointers. But the fact that he put up a gross amount of counting stats and points, rebounds, and assists, he did well in a lot of the daily game sites. So that's something to keep in mind. You don't have to always worry about the across-the-board production. Now, another point guard that I like is Dennis Schroeder at just 4,800. You can get Felton for 4,000, so that's a little bit cheaper. But if you're looking for options, because at small forward on FanDuel tonight with 3-game slate, and at center, you're going to use probably big ticket players. There are not a lot of budget buys at small forward, at center, so you got to find that at point guard, shooting guard, or power forward. We already talked about Raymond Felton at 4,000. Dennis Schroeder at 4,800 is another guy who you should get some pretty big minutes out of. Schroeder's coming off the bench for Atlanta, but we saw in their first game against the Pistons that Schroeder was on the court at the end of the game playing right next to Jeff Teague as they opted to take Kent Bazemore out of the rotation at the end of the game because he wasn't playing too well against Detroit as the starting small forward. But Thabo Sefolosha is supposed to miss Thursday night's game for Atlanta. So if Tabo's not there to come off the bench to relieve Bazemore, that should leave more minutes for Bazemore as well. Mike Muscala is also going to miss the game as he suffered an injury. Sugar plums. He suffered an ankle injury in the last game, so he's going to be out Thursday as well. From that Memphis and Indiana game, the earlier one, Monte Ellis, he had an illness, but he played through that on Wednesday night. He's going to be able to play likely again on Thursday. Miles Turner sat out Wednesday's game with an ankle injury. He was reportedly available, but he did not get into action. So I would keep an eye on that. I'm probably not going to bother trying to put Miles Turner into any of my daily games lineups. It's just too big of a risk unless we heard something crazy like he was going to get moved into the starting lineup and then you knew he was going to play. But for the most part, just avoid Miles Turner. Going back to the Hawks for this Atlanta Hawks and Knicks game on Thursday night. Mike Muscala is out with the ankle injury. Thabo Sefolosha is out with ankle issue. So that means you should get more consistent minutes from Kent Bazemore, or you just get more minutes out of Dennis Schroeder if neither of these guys are there to eat up minutes. So I'm not really looking for, in Muscala's absence, for that to open up too many more minutes in the front court. If anything, honestly, I would just suspect that Al Horford or Paul Millsap picked up some extra minutes. Maybe Thiago Splitter picks up a couple extra minutes, but Thiago Splitter is probably not going to have a big enough role that he's really somebody in your purview for Thursday night. On the Knicks side of things, Aaron Aflalo remains out with his hamstring injury. Lou Amundsen and Kevin Seraphin missed Wednesday's game. We'll see if they're going to be available for Thursday. Don't have a good read on that. Regardless, Lou Amundsen and Kevin Seraphin not really in the rotation, so you're not really worried about playing them. On the Dallas Mavericks Los Angeles Clippers game, the final game of the night, we already talked about Deron Williams being questionable for Thursday because of the bruised left knee he suffered Wednesday. JaVale McGee is out, but they hope he returns sometime in November. And then Chandler Parsons still gone until Sunday. We already talked about Raymond Felton, but is there somebody at shooting guard that we should consider using? Should we start to look at potentially using Wesley Matthews on this Dallas Mavericks team? I'm not convinced that he's going to be effective enough, that he's going to get enough minutes. So the fact that he's still 6,200 on FanDuel, that feels like too much for me. Last night we saw Wesley Matthews play 26 minutes. That's more minutes than I thought they would let him do. Playing on a minutes restriction early in the season, coming back from an Achilles surgery just 7 months later. It's really impressive that Wesley Matthews is out there. I just don't know if you're going to get enough statistics from Wesley Matthews without him playing bigger minutes. So I'd hold off on getting him into my lineup. Monte Ellis did not have an encouraging first regular season game with the Pacers, just 9 points in 29 minutes, did put up 6 assists and 2 steals, but he had just 20 fantasy points, and he's the top salaried shooting guard player at 6,800. So really, this is one of the tougher positions to figure out because you have to make some tough decisions. Sasha Vujacic had a very nice game on Wednesday night for the Knicks as their starting shooting guard. He's filling in with Aaron Aflalo out. Vujacic played 29 minutes, put up 11 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals. At just $3,500, the minimum salary on FanDuel, I'm getting Vujicic in a lot of my lineups. And then some other guys to consider at that shooting guard slot. Lance Stevenson, he's just 3,500. He started. He is the starting small forward there. Played just 19 minutes against Sacramento. But since on Wednesday night, but since they are playing on the second game of a back-to-back, it's very possible that Paul Pierce might get rested some. So if Paul Pierce gets rested on the second night of a back-to-back, Lance Stevenson as a $3,500 player, if you're playing several lineups, what you might want to consider doing is throwing Lance Stevenson into one of your tournament lineups as a punt play to say, if he goes big, we might win big. But if he doesn't, it's kind of meeting your expectations. Kent Bazemore at 3,500 as well, the minimum salary. He's another guy that's similar to Lance Stevenson. You hope that you're kind of hedging your bets on the fact that if this situation plays out, and with that, Kent Bazemore might do better than what he did in the last game. So even though we're all disappointed about having him in our lineups on Tuesday night against the Pistons when he just was terrible, there's an argument for Kent Bazemore to be used again on Thursday night. With it being just a 3-game slate, you got limited options. He's a minimum salary, and Thabo Sefolosha isn't going to be there to get any minutes off the bench. So that makes him an interesting player to consider using at shooting guard. Other than that, I'm not buying the John Jenkins thing. He didn't get enough minutes in Wednesday night's game. He played just 4 minutes off the bench. So there's just not going to be enough run there for him. And that's disappointing. Rodney Stuckey had a pretty nice game Wednesday off the bench. Played 24 minutes, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. But can he do it again? That's the Rodney Stuckey. He's a 50-50 player. It's one night he's great, one night he's bad. And you just don't know what you're going to get from night to night. So you got some tough decisions there, especially if you're playing some of these high dollar or, a little bit more expensive shooting guard players, whether it's Stuckey, JJ Redick, Jamal Crawford. I don't trust Jamal Crawford that his role is going to be there every night. He played 21 minutes on Wednesday, but we'll see. We'll see how many he gets Thursday going up against Dallas. Kyle Korver. It's probably a lot easier for teams to be locking in on him defensively this year if Tamari Carroll's not there knocking down that consistent three-point shot. So that worries me a little bit about the consistency with Korver, because you need him to hit his shots for him to make his value. And that's very frustrating for me. I like players who can at least with a Rodney Stuckey, he's going to get you some rebounds. He's going to get you a couple assists. And there's always the potential for some defensive stats. And there's always the potential for three-pointers. So Tony Allen. The Grizzlies did not play well with Jeff Green starting on Wednesday. So Tony Allen at 4,700 against Indiana. They could end up using him a lot. They could maybe move him into the starting lineup, something to keep him to consider or look at and consider. Looking at small forward, there are no good value plays here. None. And Paul George is still going at a discount on a lot of these daily game sites right now. He's just 8,500. He's cheaper than Carmelo. Paul George put up that great line of 12 rebounds, 8 assists, and 17 points on Wednesday night. He's playing again on Thursday. He's just 8,500. I feel like he's the one guy that you have to have in all your lineups. He's the no-doubter at that price. You could consider Paul Pierce. You can consider CJ Miles. CJ Miles is at 4,900. Paul Pierce is at 4,400. I don't know what else there is at small forward, unless you're going to take a stab in the dark at somebody, but there's just not much there to be worth adding. I mean, it's Carmelo Anthony, Paul George, Chandler Parsons, who's out, Wesley Johnson, who doesn't really have a role on that Clippers team. He played just 11 minutes in their season debut. CJ Miles from Indiana, who we already touched on a little bit, but all of his value comes from his scoring. He played 36 minutes on Wednesday. He had 18 points, which is great, but he had just 1 rebound, 1 assist. He had 3 steals. I don't count on those from him, for 23.7 points. Is that decent? Yeah, but at 4,900, he's not. CJ Miles, you're paying for what you get there. Let's just say that. All right, so moving over to power forward, there are some interesting guys to consider there, both of them from the Knicks. Kristaps Porzingis at 4,800 and Derek Williams at 4,500. Derek Williams had a hell of a first game off the bench in just 21 minutes against Milwaukee, put up 24 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block. He's still just 4,500. for Thursday, so that's decent price. You hate that he's only going to probably play limited minutes off the bench. You can't guarantee that he's going to score big points every single night off the bench, but this is a Milwaukee team that they still don't have Jabari Parker. Giannis will, or why am I still talking about Milwaukee? That was the biggest brain fart I've ever had. So he'll be matching up against Atlanta, and Atlanta's backup bench on the wing there is not that hot. With Muscala being out from the front court, with Thabo Sefolosha being out, if the Atlanta Hawks decide to run small with Teague and Schroeder, that could open up even more potential for Derek Williams to take advantage of those guys. We'll see. He's an interesting play at 4,500. I like Porzingis at 4,800. I like the price, but you're worried about the matchup. If Kristaps Porzingis has to guard Paul Millsap, I'm just worried that he's going to get into foul trouble, especially it being his Kristaps Porzingis' second game. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Porzingis was great in his first game on Wednesday. He put up 16 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, 1 steal in 24 minutes. Got to the free throw line 12 times, hit 9 of his attempts there. That's some easy points there for him. Ended up finishing with 25.5 FanDuel points. Porzingis is a really interesting play. I'm considering throwing both these guys into my power forward slots so that I can spend more money other places. But you also love the potential of what Paul Millsap could do against this New York team, against a rookie, matching up against Porzingis. And Paul Millsap is just 7,700 for you, which is reasonable. He put up 31 FanDuel fantasy points on 19 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists the other night. Blake Griffin had a heck of a game on Wednesday, put up 46.6 FanDuel points, 33 points, scored in 38 minutes, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. 9,900, he's expensive. He is the most expensive player on Wednesday, but it might be worth it to get Blake Griffin in your lineup if you can fit him. Looking at the centers, there's no good value plays here that I like. You can consider Robin Lopez, but he was dealing with knee soreness, and then through a lot of the preseason, he only played 20 minutes in the opener, and then does he match up well against Atlanta? Unless they have Thiago Splitter in there, I don't really think that Robin Lopez matches up well against an Al Horford who's now stretching out beyond the three-point line. So that's something to consider. Kyle O'Quinn matches up well with a lot of these Atlanta guys. So maybe him as a New York Knicks player, if you want to throw in maybe my one punt play at center would be Kyle O'Quinn. Throw him in there. He went out in 23 minutes off the bench against Milwaukee, put up 8 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, 1 steal. Puts up great across-the-board production as a big man. So maybe Kyle O'Quinn at 4,500 is a sneaky center play that you can use, get some pretty good value out of. Had 30.7 FanDuel points. That's great in 23 minutes in Wednesday's game. Maybe you can use him as a punt play and fill up the rest of your lineup with a lot of really key big guys that you know you can trust. Something to consider there. That's pretty much it, guys. Just a 3-game slate, so short podcast. Appreciate everyone listening. Again, you can find our work on dailyfantasybasketballpodcast.com. I'm Kyle McCune. You can find me on Twitter at RotoKyleNBA. Our theme song is Happiness is All the Rage by The Promise Ring. You can find their music on jtree.com. This is a lot of random information. Anyways, also please rate and review, subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, any of your preferred podcast apps. Helps us out a whole bunch. I love you guys. Good luck tonight. Go to the site. Go to dailyfantasybasketballpodcast.com. Click on the link, or go to my Twitter page. Click on the link and come play us tonight on FanDuel. Just 20 spots. So get there quick and sign up. It's just $5. It'll be a fun time. And if you win, I'll talk about you tomorrow. All right. Love you guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.